Last week, I had never heard of Moonshot AI, and now they're all over the internet because of Kimi K2, their agentic model for coding that has some really impressive benchmarks, beating GPT 4.1 and even Claude 4 Opus in some cases. It has 1 trillion parameters, and it's much cheaper than all the competition. But as cool as this is, how does it feel to actually use? Let's compare it to Claude 4 Sonnet. And before we do, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Now you can use Kimi K2 in a UI, but a much better way to use it is with the API to experience its agentic capabilities. So I set up a Moonshot API key, added some money, and hooked Kimi up to open code using this config. But you can also use it in Claude code by setting the Anthropic API to a Moonshot one and by changing the base URL. But OpenCode makes it easier to change models and see the cost in real time. Check out the description to see our video on OpenCode. So I've created a basic Vite React template project that contains this prompt MD file asking a model to add modifications that allow drag and drop for an MP3 file that will use OpenAI's Whispers API to create a transcript from that audio. This is the same test I used in the Gemini CLI video. We'll start with K2, which creates a checklist, installs the OpenAI package, updates the front end, creates an Express backend, and even writes a README for the project. The whole thing takes over 11 minutes, but that's because Moonshot AI is experiencing a lot of load. Wait, what's this? Atlassian status page. Guys, please do yourself a favor and use BetterStack. Okay, let's take a look at the app. And wow, here's the app in one shot. The heading text is difficult to read, but I love the fact it added an icon. Let's upload a file, we'll click the button, and we have an error. I'll copy this into OpenCode and let it cook. Actually, I've realized this is the real error, so I'll copy this and paste it into OpenCode as well. So now it looks like it's done. We'll try uploading another file, and the color is a bit off here, but hey, it works. And the text is white, so I'm going to change it to black, and this is much easier to read. For some reason, the cost of K2 isn't quite working in OpenCode. So after me doing some calculations, I think the whole cost came up to $0.19, which may seem quite expensive, but wait till you see how much Claude costs. Okay, so we'll use the same prompt with Claude and let it cook. It also creates a checklist, starts adding files. Wow, this is fast. Then also creates an Express backend using Malta for file uploads, adds some CSS, and it's done in 2.5 minutes. But it's already more expensive than K2. Let's see the results. Wow, this looks really nice. Also, I love the emoji over here. I'll upload a file and there's an error. Actually, this is an error on my part because I forgot to start the backend. But unlike K2, Claude didn't update the README with that information. So I'll start the front end in one tab and the backend in another. And I'll try uploading a file again. This time it uploads with a really nice loading spinner. And wow, this works, and the text is also readable. But with Kimi's project, I just ran one command which started both the client and server. So to make things fair, let's ask Claude to do the same and also update the README with project instructions. I'll let it do its thing, and it's done. But it almost cost 3 times more than K2. Now I can run a single command, which will run both client and server, and the app still works fine. Now, comparing 50 cents to 19 cents doesn't seem like a big deal, but if you compound the values, say $190 to $500, then you can start to see the cost savings that you can make with Kimi K2. I've actually shared the full conversation with K2 and Sonnet 4 as a link in the description, but I would say K2 was more thorough when it came to debugging and documentation. And I'm sure once Moonshot have sorted out their server issues, K2 could be almost as fast as Sonnet. But in terms of agentic tool use, it does really well. I mean, it performs better than Gemini 2.5 Pro for this exact same test. And the fact that it's open source means you could even run it on your own hardware if you're worried about sending data to a Chinese company. Basically, if you want a good, cheap agentic coding model that doesn't yet have multimodal support, use Kimi K2. But if you want a very, very good agentic coding model that does have multimodal support, and you have deep pockets, then you should use Claude. I'm sure that companies that already use Claude behind the hood are paying close attention to K2 to see if they could use it to save some money. And I think it will raise the bar for agentic coding models going forward. I mean, imagine if OpenAI released a model that was worse than K2 and charged people money for it. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments. Again, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.